very good afternoon to everybody. Welcome back to another episode of BW People HR Voices. Today, we are joined by Mr. Gaurav Saini, GM HR for India, Sub-Saharan Africa, Middle East, North African region, and Transformational Business at HMD Global Nokia Phones. Over his 20 plus years working in the HR industry, Gaurav has repaired sub-performing initiatives and amplified employee experiences by revamping compensation elements. Gaurav is also an expert across various domains, including talent acquisition, performance management, leadership development, and succession planning for organizations such as Happiest Minds Technologies, the Tata Group, Hewitt Associates, and many more. Firstly, welcome, Mr. Gaurav. Thank you for being here with us today.
Thank you. It's a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for inviting.
So today, Gaurav will be sharing his insights on how to create a workplace for learning, growth, and innovation. So Gaurav, as an HR leader, let's start with understanding how can HR leaders identify the high potential employees in an organization, and post identifying how can they nurture them in order to ensure that they have opportunities for growth and advancement in their careers.
Okay, so if I divide this question into two parts, first is the identification of the high potential talent you've asked for. So a lot of organizations have their own system to do that, but there are some tools which are there online and maybe on some of the applications people use to do that. In my experience, one of the tool which has worked very well in this is a 9-box grid, where it's a combination of the potential of the candidate and the performance. Okay. So you plot performance and the potential which is there in the candidate. So potential is defined as that the candidate's performance is not getting impacted if you increase the complexity, or else you increase the area of the work, or any changes you make in the participants or the candidate's profile or area of work or scope of work, the performance remains constant. So that's how you measure the potential of any candidate. So you plot the candidate against the potential and the performance. So these are some tools. I use 9-box grid quite extensively in my current organization as well as in my past organizations, which has helped a lot. And I think this is one of the good tools which can give the high potential. So high potential candidate will be for you which has high on the potential side. So when you say 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9, like this 9-box grid is there. So all your 4 people and the 7s will be your high potential people. So those who are very high on potential, they have the potential to grow in the organization, or else they are very high on the potential plus the performance as well.
Right.
And there will be people who are very high performance and middle on the potential. So these 3, 4, 7, 8 boxes will be your top talent. So there are various ways to identify these talent. Some of the organizations, they do based on the criticality of the role. So how critical your role is in that organization, and your performance, let's suppose that candidate is more than 100%, and your organization cannot afford in the immediate run to lose that candidate. So right. The criticality plays the high potential role. So if I become a critical candidate, so take an example, my performance is good and I'm having a revenue generation for something substantial percentage in my organization, then I become a critical and high potential person for my organization. So it depends on the organization, first of all.
How can you ensure that they have opportunities for growth and advancement? And also, apart from that, I would also like to know, what are some of the strategies for retaining such employees that have a high performance and high potential?
So obviously, high potential people, as is defines in the name also, they have the higher potential from the comparative to other candidates or the employees in the organization.
Right.
So when you define potential, it means they can do more what they are currently doing in their current role. Okay. So one way and the best way to retain these people is to you give them more responsibility. You give them more projects. You give them more exposure to work on. You give them that satisfaction to have an achievement at the workplace. So this is one of the best ways any organization can retain a high potential talent. Obviously, sometimes a lot of organization, they mix the retention tool like monetary benefits or any kind of benefits also mix up with that. In my opinion, I personally believe if there is a talent which is high potential, uh, in any case, that candidate should be at parity or above parity from other employees in your organization. So monetary should not be a problem. So if you are not paying that person very well as per your current parity, then your performance system is to be question marked. Because if that candidate is a potential candidate for me, it means his performance is high and he's handling a very good role for me, and he has a growth perspectives to grow in the organization in future. So I'm not taking care very well this person in terms of my performance management process. Because if it is taken care, he'll be getting very high bonuses, high incentives, and also salary wise, he'll be on a compa ratio which is more than 100.
Right.
Right. So if he is more than less than 100 on a compa ratio, then it's a question mark on my ability to do that performance management process for him. So I take it very separately. But yes, along with the responsibility, we need to see that whether they have been paid well, they've been paid as per their competence, they've been paid as per, because these guys also take a lot of initiatives. They work extra, they work for you in different projects. They can and they might and they work. So these are all situations depend on that. So how do you incentivize their contribution? It's a big question mark on the organization. It's not necessarily that you have to pay them monetary, but it's a recognition part. So
Right.
do we get the recognition for these guys as it is required? It can be in terms of forums. It can be in terms of maybe with the family members. It can be in terms of monetary and financial recognition, what we want to give to them. So retention is a combination package for this high potential talent. One is obviously the most important to kind of summarize is the role. We need to give them more challenging roles, more potential roles where they can demonstrate, they don't get frustrated in their current role, and we don't box them up in some kind of competency that, okay, this is the role which you're supposed to do. So they can do a lot for you what they are supposed to do. Second part is how do you recognize them, financially or non-financial? So these are the two things which has worked for me in the past, and I think it should work for any organization as well when they're
Right.
handling their high potential.
So, Gaurav, for all the viewers, can you suggest a few initiatives aimed at promoting diversity and inclusion within the workplace? And also, how do these efforts contribute to a more innovative and collaborative environment at work?
So there is no doubt that diversity and inclusion plays an important role for any organization to grow. Uh, Collaboration is a very big word because it is a culture. It is not something which comes with any kind of mix of people. So it is a culture which has been driven. It can be in a non-diverse organization as well that you'll find a lot of collaboration. A lot of collaboration can be seen in factory environment where you have no mix of people there, and it's process oriented, and they are collaborated. They are doing that. So it's basically a process and a culture. So the collaboration is a process and culture. Does it get better because human being collaborate as per their choices as well as with their need for to do that collaboration, and also sharing of knowledge and other things also happen through. So in my experience, I've seen it. Diversity plays an important role because somewhere, and this is maybe a controversial statement as well, that somewhere when you have diverse workforce, your competition is not intense, in my opinion,
Right.
because psychologically you feel safe
Hmm.
and you more open up more, and then you build up a very collaborative culture. So uh, it is something like an experience I'm sharing, maybe not applicable or truthful or maybe right for every organization, but diversity plays on your mind, and it has a emotional as well as psychological impact. Your psychological safety is more with diverse workforce rather than one kind of workforce, and that's how the competitiveness, internal competitiveness decreases, there, not in terms of positive, but in terms of negative competitiveness, we get the feelings about it. So collaboration increases with diversity. So this is a correlation between collaboration and diversity and inclusion, which I'm trying to drive here.
Right.
The first part of diversity and inclusion, how do you drive it? So again, it is a process which has to be driven from top to down, not from bottom to up kind of thing. So it is a top down board approach where there is a decision which takes that, yes, this is the mix we're going to have. This is the target and the vision we have. Because a lot of places where I've seen that, yes, even the diverse workforce is against the diverse workforce. And I say diverse, diversity is not in terms of gender only, but it is too many things. But if I say only gender diversity, then the gender is against the gender, same gender.
Right.
So they don't allow people to grow, or they don't want to hire because they are aware about the challenges they face with that particular gender, or maybe any diverse situation. So it can be your physical abilities which you have, or any language issues you had. So let's take an example. A very good example is a guy who is in I would say a setup where there is a language is a constraint, and if I have come from the same background, I face that thing, I will see that I survived, but maybe this person might not be able to survive. So I'll feel negative about that person. It's a very simple aspect where I put myself into the same shoes. So I am reluctant to hire that kind of person. Same thing, I've seen it, and I've witnessed it also as well. A lot of women candidates are not in favor of hiring women candidates when they just get married, because they say that after 1 year they will go for a maternity leave. What will I do when the lady goes on a maternity leave? Just for examples, I'm not saying please, it's just few examples which comes to my mind, and the challenges which have in the diversity and inclusion. But gender is one part to it, but there are other things also, like it is demographics, it is your physical abilities, it is now a lot of things which is related to your capabilities. So diversity is much more than that now. So we can have a diversity within the capabilities, different competencies as well. So it's a wide topic. So top to down, it has to be driven, coming back to the point. And the second part, very important, is you need to have the set KPIs for each and every hiring manager, that this is a percentage you want to maintain. So like, take an example, we have nowadays a very clear cut mandate in the, I would see in a lot of colleges. They always have a mandate that we maintain this diverse workforce, because they have people with gender diversity, they have the people with the learning disabilities, they have the people with physical abilities, they have other people also from different background, language, and slicing of the data is very, very good. And it's been driven as a culture that I'm an inclusive institution to give this education to the new age generation people, because they can find it. So this is happening with more of those education institutions where they are putting their institution as non-traditional institutions. So traditional ones, they're still going with that, but non-traditional ones are selling their picture like this. Same way, I think the corporates also have to come forward. They have to publish their reports. They have to do this, that this is what is their agenda to do is diversity and inclusion, because 50% of people don't understand what is diversity and inclusion at this moment as well. They've started thinking about it, but I doubt, because we are not doing anything on other diversities. So first is gender, we have to deal with this. The first obstacle is a lot of organization, 90% of the organization is struggling with the gender diversity only. Forget about other. So it's a top-down approach, KPI driven by the line manager. It has to be like, I have to carry this diversity, and diversity should become a part of manager KPI under performance management as well. So how many people, take an example, when we have satisfaction or a pulse score rate for the employees, there is a weightage given to the how satisfied your employees or your team is with you. What is your pulse score? What is your satisfaction score? That manager is being judged on that, and his performance rating is dependent on this. So how diverse workforce is your, What is the mix you have? There is a weightage given to it. And obviously it cannot be same as for all the functions, because some functions might have that capability or capacity to consume that diversity. Some of them might not have it. And a bigger part now, after the acquisition of this diversity and inclusion, which is top down and the KPI driven, second part is educating people. It's very important that how do we educate people to handle this workforce, which is totally lacking in the industry currently. They don't know even how to talk to the women now, most of the people. How do you include them? How do you, if there are some difficult conversations which need to happen with the women candidates or the employees, I see a lot of managers, they shy off. They don't want to do that, either with the fear or either with some kind of their own inhibitions in mind. They have it. Fear is, oh, if I speak maybe little strongly with my colleague here and she's from the other gender, then yes, I might, or she might start. No, but they are very strong. So the thing is, it's my own perception sometimes. So it has to be trained. People have to be trained. You have to have a basic course for your manager on this. How do you handle the diversity? Right. So two things will definitely, because one is the fear of not knowing the things rightly, and it is creating to me that, oh, I shouldn't be doing this because something I don't know, I always resist, no, I will not do this. Let's not do this. It's a known thing. Let me go with this way. So a lot of people are not aware about it. So the knowledge, the training, the exposure, you get it, that how these people are helping, how these people are contributing to the organizations, KPIs, their culture and everything. It becomes so vibrant, it becomes so good that you have a diverse workforce. So it is a kind of thing which needs to be told to the managers and also to your frontline recruitment team. How do you pitch your jobs and openings to these people, So it is a different set of skill which is required in the entire industry, which I feel very strongly. Before we go down that, how do we handle it? How do we collaborate it? My first challenge in the industry, which I tell people, is how do we acquire them also? So currently it is just a kind of a mandate. Oh, I hired one physically able person, one I hired from this transgender, and I hired from one this and on that. Oh, I have so much of women workforce, 25%. I'm just happy with that. How much is the retention happening? How much is the rehire happening? How much is the performance of that team is there? How do we measure? So it's a huge vast of things which we need to do in terms of our management of diversity and inclusion in any organization, which we are very niche stage. We are not tip of the iceberg. That's all.
We'll take it in two parts. What role do you think the technology plays in learning and innovation strategies?
Okay. So without the technology, we cannot think of L&D today.
Right.
So it is not, we always say that technology is an enabler. No, it has gone far beyond it. So technology is a necessity, right, for the learning and development programs today. Whether you do it offline, whether you do it online, that's the method and the channel you choose. But like this, like a smartphone, because I come from a phone industry, a smartphone has become a necessity. Right. So we cannot have a choice whether I'm using WhatsApp or not, whether I'm using a Facebook or not, whether I'm using an Instagram or not, but somehow smartphone is my necessity today. It is not a choice. Because I might require it for some or the other purpose, maybe for a UPI payment. Yes, Nokia has launched a UPI payment on feature phone as well, but I'm advertising here, by the way. The thing is, but it is a necessity. So you can't think of L&D or any kind of development of the people without a technology. Let's be very clear. If we are doing it, we're fooling ourselves. We are just living and denial stage that yes, I will do it, I will acquire it. Now, coming to the advanced technologies, which is AI driven or something like that. I would say it's good, AI driven things, but it's going to pose a lot of challenge to us in future. Because it requires a really good handling and the usage, what we need to do with this. So we can't be overwhelmed or excited with this unless and until we decide and define what are we expecting from it. So that is missing part somewhere. We have to define, even if it is a learning. So if we're talking about currently about a learning intervention, we have to define what are we expecting from this. Are we expecting some insights? Are we expecting some data? Are we expecting some kind of support to the learners there? What are we defined? So it has to be defined. It is so wide. It is again such a wide subject under the sky that if we don't define our objective of this usage, how am I going to use this AI into this intervention? I will get lost and I will get confused whether it is useful for me or useless for me. So currently we are in a euphoria stage with AI. As usual, all the HR people, when we were there in Gen Z, Gen Y, handling millennials, other stuff and all, now this chat GPT and AI is coming up. So everybody is excited and we are in a euphoria or a honeymoon stage where everything looks very good and excited. And I get overwhelmed. So once somebody is getting married, the time of marriage between the engagement and the marriage day till the honeymoon is quite good, quite confusing, overwhelmed, lot of things happening. When the reality hits to you and the rubber hits the road, that's how you know the reality. So in AI, definition is you need to define what I want from AI, because it was there. It was already there in terms of recruitment. It was there in terms of your some kind of sourcing, and I would say it was already there in your buying habits. It was there in your shopping things. We were not exposed to that much. Now we have been exposed. So can we use it the same way, a positive way, that when we have the training programs or something to excite people about it? So I would say the manual intervention will decrease with the AI intervention. That is one part very clear to us. It will become easier for us. It will become more measurable for us, what people are gaining and acquiring. But again, because we are dealing with human beings here, not with the machines, so you cannot measure the actual impact and the ROI, which is again a difficult part. So I would expect maybe somewhere, if ROI can be a very defined thing for me in terms of my AI related things, that will be a beneficial aspect. But otherwise, definition is required, and AI is quite wide. We need to see that how to utilize that. What was the second?
So my second part was, how do you create a balance between technology and the traditional methods? But I think defining the usage of technology that you've already mentioned is one of the answers. But what about the emotional quotient, or the ethical perspective in employees that cannot be done in AI as of now? I mean, to an extent it is, but not completely.
Unless you do a lie detector test. So the thing is, again, I'm coming back with the human beings. In 2004-5, when I was almost kicking my career off, and I used to train. I was a trainer as well, and a lot of people got scared with this notion that e-learning is coming. That time, e-learning means your visual learning things will come, and it will eliminate all your stand-up trainers or the physical trainers. The coaches, they're still people. They're not the machines, right? The people who give the feedback to you on some of the content, they're still people, not the machines to you. Right? So the machines can only tell you what you have done.
Right.
So the big difference here. Machines can only tell you what you have done, or what you or your kind of people could have done. It is always past. Machine cannot tell you what a human being will do in the future. And that's a difference. So to know that thing, we need a human being to know, because it is not 1 + 1 is equal to 2. It can be 1 + 1 is equal to 3 sometimes for a human being. Right. So only the human being can understand that there are emotions there involved in 1 + 1 is equal to 3. And there might be some kind of projections, there can be some kind of hunch, gut feeling. I still feel that a gut feeling cannot come from a machine.
Hmm.
The
True.
vibes which you get cannot come from a machine, right? So that will still remain with human being. Whatever you do in AI, whatever you do in technology, that aspect. So technology can only help you with the past. It cannot help you with the future.
Right.
So we can use that in the future. So there's a difference when people might contest this statement. What I'm telling you today is that, but what I meant is you can utilize that in future. No, I'm not saying, but they cannot predict your future.
Right.
But a human being can always predict that, okay, I want to do this after 1 year. Machine will calculate what you have done in the past and what your capabilities for the 1 year will calculate it. But mine is dependent on that. That suppose I want to do something and its motivation and emotional quotient plays as you ask the question. That machine doesn't have emotions. I have emotions, you know. Today, let's suppose I'm asking someone, I want to leave due to this reason. Machine will say yes or no. And maybe tick mark this is the reason. Okay, no, okay. But I need to understand empathy. Where empathy is there with the machines? I need to understand. A conversation will happen. What can I do for you besides the leave? It is something like I understand your situation. Okay, fine. The kind of work I do next day, will that be empathetic towards that also? Because I need to see that the person has come out of the hospital, the leave ended, the next day machine will load you with the work. Same kind of work which you were doing before you went to the hospital. But emotionally questioned high person or with feelings will not do that. They will evaluate how much should I do in this. So future is still not predictable by machines. It's human being who can do something about it. They have a hunch, they have a gut feeling, they have emotions. Based on that, they can take some calls. Machine will not be able to take it.
Right. So, Gaurav, how can organizations collect and utilize the feedback that they're getting from their employees to fill in the potential areas of improvement and the gaps that they are identifying in their work process? And how should they address these issues?
There are traditional methods you can do that, which is your pulse surveys. You do it on particular time period with the gaps. But
Right.
currently, I think a lot of organizations are going just-in-time approach, where it is like a social media platform
Mm.
where all these interactive employee engagement tools are there. The various tools are there where a lot of companies are doing it, and there are chatbots where you can utilize that. So as a feedback, you can. It depends on the company to company, organization to organization, how much value you give to that feedback. There will be a lot of kachra coming up in that. There will be some very good suggestions coming up in this. So one important thing which underlines the principle is how open you are for the communication. That's one point. So means, am I open to hear? So if I'm not open to hear, doesn't matter anything, what kind of feedback, how much time and all. So if I'm open to listen to you, if I'm open for the comms, and it's a two-way comms, right, happening. So two-way means like, okay, I give you an update to you about the organization status. I give you update about the challenges. I give you an update about what I was supposed to give you as a milestone, or maybe in kind of a reasoning to it. We have based it in the past. And the second part, when I'm getting this input, I build up a solution around it and come back to you, saying that we heard it, now we did this. So it is a culture of communication which plays an important role, that what kind of tools you want to do, how frequently you want to use that. Method is anything you can use it, even like a town halls, a normal coffee sessions, a normal interaction will give you a lot of feedback. But only the intention is, are you ready to hear? Are you ready to listen to? That is a culture thing. It's
Right.
not a process. So
But in your opinion, do you think exit interviews are relevant, or do you think the stay interviews are relevant? The current taking feedback from the current employees or the employees that are
again,
leaving?
that's my point. So if your organization is psychological safe environment, so
Mm.
when you say psychological safe environment, it means there is no fear of asking questions.
Right.
or fear of judging you bad or good on the basis of that question, you are doing this, then your organization is playing a very good role as a cultural ambassador for open communication. So it starts with that culture. I'm basically an ambassador of it. Now the second part, which is there, how do you collect it? I already told you. Third part is exit interviews, or maybe in-house interviews, or anything which you have it, or maybe the performance sessions you have it. So a lot of data points are everywhere. You have in your performance reviews, you have it. So we used to have it like in one of the company, we used to measure the happiness quotient of the people.
Right.
We used to do that like while logging in, you just have to click on a smiley button, or while something like that, we used to do that and collect the data. At what time of the day the people are happy, which team is more happy, which manager's team is unhappy, what are the reasons for it. So that analysis and this thing was going on, and we just get into the more details. So in my opinion, organization culture, if it's open, they will be they will get the quality input inside the organization and while leaving the organization. So if you are basically a good organization, you don't have to rely on only exit interviews to get a good feedback, because then you are not a psychological safe environment where people are scared to give you any inputs, and they are giving the input to you while exiting the organization because the stakes are zero. So that is not the right environment, I would say. But yes, to answer it, some of the things may be related to your manager, related to your culture, related to your maybe some of the favoritisms or anything. You get very good insights in while on exit interviews, because people give you a fearless, I would say, advice and the data points. And in my opinion, it should be conducted by third party. If it is really you want a kind of a result and the worth it, then it has to be conducted by a psychometric assessment kind of thing, where you can assess the person in which psychological mode the person is and how it can be utilized for the best of the people. So for me, collecting information, collecting data is not that important. How do you utilize that information is very important. What kind of changes you're going to make with that is very important. And that's why that if the change is so big and impactful, then your quality of input has to be good. Because if the quality of input is bad, you will make wrong decisions. So it is to be done. And if anybody is thinking about, see, exit interviews as a process being done by a lot of listed companies as a process, but you really want to have the results, obviously third party sourcing, they give the data. In-house, a culture of open communication, town halls, your day-to-day chatbots, or anything on the social media kind of platform engagement, you have it within the organization, and also a feedback session. So we used to conduct some feedback sessions. So after like a product or something on the colors, something on this, that how do you like these colors? Okay. Because before launching it, it's one of the audience you have it, and diverse audience you have. So the feedback is not only about employees, it is about your products, it is about your business, it is about, they know it and they should become a part of it. It's like a family, you know. In family, if I'm going to make a decision of moving my house, will I consult my kids and my wife? Definitely. My parents, yes, definitely. My friends, maybe definitely. So I need to take a lot of feedback on that. So if I'm going to make changes in the organization related to people, related to business, related to process, I think the feedback is must, and organization should be open up. There's no harm in doing.
Right. So Gaurav, any last piece of advice for the employers, HR professionals, and the employees watching this video?
It's a quite diverse thing which we have discussed in this, but one thing is there that, in my opinion, HR is not to be done by HR guys, first of all. I always tell to my business as well that I'm just a facilitator here. I'm not going to make any policies. I'm not going to make any recommendations. I'm not going to build up any culture here. Right. So I can help you to direct it from there. So my only thing is that if HR guys want to build up their space, which is in the business, which is like you want to make your position important in the business. Understanding of the business is very important, first of all. What do we do as an organization? I've seen most of the HR guys, they don't have that understanding. They have a very good understanding about their HR processes, operations, system. How do you run a performance management system? How do you run interviews? How do you recruit people with the high-end tools and everything? But it is all incomplete without having the proper and the wide information on the business, deep information on the business. That is going to help you. So, and that is going to give you a respected space on the table with the business. That is something which HR guys are struggling with today. They don't have a place in the boardroom, most of them. Boardroom means the decision-making body. When I say not the boardroom as a boardroom, but they don't have a place there, which is a very respected place kind of thing that, okay, fine, I want you as a business partner. So we can call us as HR VPs of the world. We can call it as anything. But currently, are we playing that role? Because HR VP is something understanding the business. So business understanding is must to grow. Second part is, don't put yourself on the front seat. Any initiative which you want to run related to any of the development of the people, anything related to process, performance, or any kind of assessments, I think the manager has to play an equal role there. And if that has not been done in any organization, I would not say that any initiative will not get success. It will be on the tick mark box. And the third and the lastest is that it's very less opportunity for the HR people to learn. I've not seen much of the HR people enhancing their skills, upskilling and cross-skilling. They say that we learn it on the work, on the job, which is just an excuse.
Right.
In my opinion, there are a lot to learn. When we talk about AI, we all know ChatGPT, we talk about it. So we only learn that what these companies are doing, but we don't learn that what is it and what I can get this done from this technology, this thing, which is new coming up in the market. That learning is stagnant somewhere. And I think it's not the fault from the HR guys as well. It is a fault maybe in the entire ecosystem, where I see a very less development initiatives for the HR. I see a lot of courses. I see a lot of I would say the certification courses or anything for business, for operations, for finance guys, but I don't see that much happening in HR field. I've not seen that. Yes, I'm not talking about trainers, because L&D professionals, they have their own scale of measurement in terms of their enhancement of the skills and the knowledge. I'm talking about hardcore HR professionals, which is not getting it. And the fourth last is adopt technology. Don't hesitate and resist. The days you delay it, it means you are delaying the development of your organization and development of your people, as well as your, including all of us. So adopt it as fast as possible you can. And how much? Define it. That's all.
Well, thank you, Mr. Gaurav. Thank you for giving us your time today. It was a very insightful discussion, and I'm definite that the viewers are going to enjoy watching this video. Thank you once again.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Bye.